Welcome to the Cups of Consciousness show. I am Aleya Dao, your host. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine, a sound healer, the author and founder of the 7 Cups of Consciousness. I have produced 9 sound healing albums and have recorded over 2,000 meditations online. I am an energy practitioner and help people shift their consciousness using their energetic fields. And this show is all about using your energetic fields to shift your consciousness, as well as exploring energetic concepts that help you create a more empowered and connected life. This episode is an energetic session that explores concepts, energetic practices, and protocols that are similar to a prayer, which help you transform particular aspects of your life. When you listen, recognize that some part of you is using your energetic fields to shift your vibration, which in turn shifts your consciousness, your behaviors, your beliefs, how you react and respond. You might even go into an altered state, so use caution if you're driving or doing something that requires a focused mind. With all of this work that I present, remember that it is your energy shifting you in your own unique way. That way you stay in control and in power with your process. So take a deep breath in, pull yourself into your line of light, and explore your inner terrain in a safe and supported space. Let's dive in. Welcome to the 7 Cups of Consciousness podcast with me, Aleya Dao, and today, Adrienne is my guest. She is a dear friend, and I have known her for many, many years. And Jean, it's just such a treat and a joy to be in your presence today.
Thank you. You too.
I just want to share with our audience a little bit about who you are, what you do. And Jean is an author of 6 books and 2 decks that are for metaphysical, spiritual, cultivating greater awareness. She created InnerSpeak, and it's a coaching tool for clearing karmic blocks from this lifetime, past lifetimes, and ancestors to create a reality that you truly desire and have the ability to create for yourself in this life now. She also works internationally and teaches and shares her tools with so many people all over the world, in Europe especially, and Turkey. And she currently is living in Tallahassee, Florida, where she works with people internationally, Zoom, and in person at her home. Jean, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aleya. It is so good to be in your energy. I've missed you, girl.
I missed you too. And I was actually just thinking about when did we connect and how did we connect and how many years ago? Because I remember that you invited me to come teach out in Georgia, but I think that we already had connections prior to that.
Way before that, it started with your husband, Doug, and Deborah Jacobs.
Yes.
She sent me Doug's first book, and I said, no, I don't, that's lawyer stuff. I don't do that. She said, no, you really need to interview this guy. And when I read his book, I realized how spiritual it was. And so I'm interviewing him and I'm pushing it towards spiritual stuff. And he goes, no, that's my wife that does that stuff. And he never said who you were. Right. And then I started following you, doing your daily cups. And then I signed up to do a tall cup out in the Redwoods way back.
Like a deep dive retreat.
It was a deep dive. Yes.
Yep.
Deep dive. Me and my friend Karen.
That's right. In Santa Cruz, right?
Yeah.
Santa Cruz. Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere. Yeah. And so we're sitting having lunch and Doug comes in and I recognized him from his promo picture. I'm like, wait a minute, Aleya is your wife? And he goes, yeah. So.
Well, that's so cool.
Yeah, I think we did. Karen and I came out there for like 3 deep dives. And then I moved to the mountains and invited you to come there. Yeah. And I was supposed to do a deep dive in Miami with you, but I had that accident where I lost my vision in my left eye and I couldn't come. And so y'all, I think, put a candle in a chair for me.
We did. We did. We held vigil, and you have had such an incredible journey in your life. And I would love to, our history and knowing you, but I've never really asked you, what was it that got you on the path of spirituality, energy work, InnerSpeak? Like, how did that begin?
So it all started for me in one of those enlightenment experiences, like what you had. But mine was a bit different. I was driving down the road and I heard a man's voice in the back seat of my car. And he said, "You're done with everything you've done up to this point in your life." And I looked in the rearview mirror and there was nobody there. And I was like, scared the
Wow.
daylights out of me.
I bet.
And so I started arguing with him. And I said, "Well, wait a minute. Don't be taking away my livelihood unless you've got something better. You're done with everything you've done up to this point in your life." And that's how
What year was that?
May the 31st of 2002, I had already heard this voice, but on that particular day, I got a call from my boss who told me that the company that I was working for was going bankrupt at 5 o'clock that day.
Oh
So
my God.
I was without a job for 3 months.
Wow.
It took me 3 months to channel InnerSpeak. I mean, literally,
That is fast.
yeah, they just stopped my world.
Right?
And downloaded a healing modality that's 144 files of information. And I literally sat at my computer and typed for 3 months.
Oh my God.
At the end of 3 months, it was finished. I didn't know what it was or how to use it, but got a call from my boss, the one that told me that the company was going back, and he had gone to work for Belkin Corporation. And he said, "I've got a great job for you." It paid me like twice what I was making before.
Right.
So the other job appeared. So that's just kind of how the universe can seem to work in our life if we're willing to surrender into it and allow it to happen.
Now, did it feel like you surrendered into it? Did you question it? Was it scary?
So that's kind of my backstory. If I had to describe myself, I would say I'm like the zero card in the tarot. The little kid that's got his backpack on his back and his little dog by his side and he's stepping off a cliff. I usually never question anything.
You just, it just flows like it's in your blood to just go, all right, here we go.
It's like, when E.F. Hutton calls, Gene answers. And the rest is history. And it's been that way pretty much all my life.
Wow. So, but over time, you figured out how to use this download that you received and typed out in 90 days or less. And so how do people use the InnerSpeak cards deck process?
The book, the process of it. It's based on using muscle testing to access it. I mean, I suppose you could use a pendulum
right.
or anything like that, but that doesn't work as well because muscle testing is allowing a person's body to tell you. And so I surrender into it. I don't actually pull on a person's arm anymore because I work on people all over the world. I can't do that.
Right.
I use self-testing and I surrender into the fact that you and I are one. So I can talk to your body.
Right.
And let your body say, okay, Aleya needs the 7th piece of information on page 27 and the 30th piece of information on page 122. And so it's a form of healing with words. And I tell you what your higher self wants you to know.
What your energetic self. And with that, do you have to be intuitive in order to use InnerSpeak?
Absolutely not. That's the beauty of it because I was so shut down in 2002. I couldn't intuit my, from a hole in the ground. I literally had shut it down. I think I had a trauma when I was a baby that was a metaphysical sort of trauma, and it scared the daylights out of me, and I just closed the door. And
so would InnerSpeak actually be really good for people who are sensitive, they have been intuitive, they did close the door down, and it's a safe, empowering way to slowly start turning that dial back up?
Absolutely, because guess what? It's completely left-brained. Show me yes, show me no. You don't have to be intuitive to do it. And in fact, I really tell people, don't. You don't need to interpret. Just read the line to the client and go get the next one and read that and don't interpret it because it's not necessary. And if you start interpreting it and you're not really tuned in,
right,
you can make a big old mess out of it all.
Right, and not be accurate.
Giving wrong information.
Interesting. And so with that, could you also use InnerSpeak for your own self? So it's like if listeners aren't practitioners and they just want a tool to help them in their own growth and clearing challenges, they could use the InnerSpeak for themselves.
That's the best place to do it. It's that old saying, healer, heal thyself.
Mm-hmm.
And I work on myself every week, a minimum of one time a week,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes more often because things come up.
Yeah.
Something will happen and I'll go, whoa,
Yeah.
that's not copacetic. That's not normal. I wonder what that's about.
Right. It's like you listen to those tiny little whispers, it gets your attention and you tend to it, shifting your vibration. But kind of backtracking a little bit, just for our listeners, some people might not know what muscle testing is. Can you tell them about muscle testing and learn muscle testing?
So muscle testing started by a chiropractor back in the 1950s, and it kind of happened by accident, but he realized that if he checked the relative strength or weakness of the upper deltoid muscle, he could get hone in on what was causing subluxations in his patient's body. And then it went a little bit farther than that. The next chiropractor took what this guy had done and realized that if he held his hand in specific ways while he was doing that muscle testing, he could get even more information.
Interesting.
So it really is all about the relative strength or weakness of any muscle. And because I do it on myself, it's the relative strength or weakness of the muscle right here. I mean, and anybody can do it. You just ask the body, show me what is yes. And for me, it's not going to pop out. Right. Show me what is no. And my finger just pops right out.
Very cool.
Some people do it like this. Show me what's yes. Show me what's no.
And some people do it like where they stand up and they lean forward or they lean back or they lift their legs, their knees. And I've taken several classes on muscle testing, and it's initially I was like, I don't know if this is really accurate. But then I was doing some research on muscle testing, and they literally hooked people up to little diodes where it could tell the strength that's being exerted from the muscle on a machine. And then you would put sugar in one hand and the same amount of pressure would be applied, the same tension, and it would go weak when we were holding the sugar. And so I think our bodies are electrically aligned physically and also energetically. And when you're in the presence of a challenging energy or supportive energy, our body responds.
The interesting thing about learning how to do InnerSpeak and muscle testing is it's very easy to learn the protocol. The protocol is very simple. It looks like a hopscotch grid, and you move down it, top down, left to right. The muscle testing piece, though, I can't teach people how to trust themselves. They have to figure that out for themselves. I can show them how to do it, but trust is something that is inherent in a person. I can't teach you that. So
that's the interesting one. And so that's when a pendulum might come into play.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Somebody
pendulum,
had a pendulum.
It's got its own little issues though, because the pendulum, unless the person's really in surrender, the pendulum can be picking up not only from the client's body, but from any low vibrational entity that's happened to be flickering around,
right.
All of that as well. So that's why I don't tell people to use a pendulum unless it's at last resort.
Okay. You have been listening to the Cups of Consciousness show with me, Aleya Dao. Receive a free month of the Cups of Consciousness. Go to 7cupsofconsciousness.com. When you get your free month, you will get 5 cups a week for 4 weeks. You'll also receive access to a live Tall Cup of Consciousness session. Feel free to review the show. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Aho.